Hello friends and greetings for the day. Welcome back to another tutorial on ISTQB Advanced Test Manager Certification. We are in chapter 7 talking about people skills and team composition. Continuing ahead with the next tutorial of this chapter, which is 7.4, fitting testing within an organization. When talking about fitting testing within an organization, we are actually recalling some of the learnings from the foundation. What exactly we are talking about? Remember that chapter 1, the very first topic of the chapter 5, we spoke about a little bit on the degree of independence, that how independent a testing can be performed within a particular organization. And we learned about the different degrees, right from the lowest independent test team to the highest independent test team. And that was not basically, some important part of your syllabus of the foundation, and generally we have not seen any question in the examination as well, and that's what they're elaborating right now. For a test manager, it's very important for them to identify that how independent testing can be performed for certain level of testing, and where exactly what kind of independence we need to establish in order to measure the quality of the product. And that's what we are elaborating in this particular segment of our overall thing. And also we are trying to understand that what exactly would be the characteristics of having different independence of testing. Now, organizations may have many ways to fit testing into the organizational structure. While quality is everyone's responsibility, as one of the benefit of independent testing is that to make sure that though we have different teams to test different parameters of a product, we still need to make sure that the quality is everyone's responsibility throughout the software development lifecycle. An independent test team can contribute significantly to a quality product. Independence of the testing functions varies widely in practice, as seen from the following list, which we'll be talking about, ordered from least to the most independent. If you quickly recall, we had the major 5 independent degrees, and now we are looking forward to them in more detail. The number 1 is no independent testers. In nutshell, that there are only the person who are creating it and they're only testing it. Second is like testing is done by a tester that is not a part of that is a part of the development team. That means they work so closely, they work with the team, but they are actually dedicated for testing, but they are a part of the same team where development happens. The third degree is basically for the testing is done by the test specialist of the organization. And the next one is external test specialist performing certain levels. And the last one is when the entire organization is different when it comes to testing. In order to get started, let's talk about the very first layer of it, where we are talking about no independent testers. Here we say that in this case, there is no independence and the code is being tested by the developer who wrote it. Generally, this doesn't happen. But in certain cases, it can happen. For example, if I'm writing a small piece of code as an amendment or hot fixes, I can myself test it and of course do pass it to QA for making a review test to make sure that whatever the developer tested has passed or not. But a unit testing or probably some of the basic things which are being modified can be tested by a developer itself. The developer, if allowed time to do testing, will determine that the code works as intended, which may or may not match the actual requirement. Now, the developer can fix any found defects quickly. That's one of the benefits of having this lowest independent test team. But we do have a lot of other drawbacks which are related to this, except the benefits. So benefits can be that he can quickly fix it as he is the one who knows the code. But the biasing and that separation from the one who has written it is very crucial for us today. The second category is testing is done by developers other than the one who wrote it. So now we are slightly moving into a higher level of independence, but not completely independent testing team. That means a developer A writes the code, but developer B is the one who tests the code. There is a little independence between the developer and the tester here. The developer testing another developer's code may be reluctant to report the defects, and the developer mindset towards testing is usually focused on the positive test cases because they don't look forward like a tester or from a user perspective point of view that we should also try about the negatives. So they always try to check the positive flow of the application or positive functionality of the application and try to see that or measure it that it works perfectly or not. So that's the second category where we see that there are differences compared to the first one, but of course they are not completely independent and cannot claim all the benefits of having independent testing. Further to continue, we are having the third category, which is testing is done by a tester or independent test team that is a part of the development team. That means right within the organization or right within the the project where you have a development team and a testing team separately, but they are no longer the developers who are testing the product, but they are dedicated testers who are responsible for that. The tester or the test team may report to the project management or may report to the development manager as well. The tester mindset is focused more on verifying adherence to the requirement more than looking forward to the code stability and other things. So they get into the negativity of the scenario as well. Because the tester is a member of development team, the tester may have development responsibilities in addition to testing. Okay, so here we are talking about a mixed team with mixed responsibilities. The tester's manager may more be focused on meeting the schedule than achieving the quality goals. Testing may be given a lower status in the team than development because most of them are development driven and developers are more, and moreover that it's completely controlled from the point of creating the product and delivering it rather than concentrating or giving weightage to the testing point of view. The tester may have no authority to influence the quality goals or adherence to these goals because this team is completely driven by the developers. So I can say that developer dominated group, and testers are only from the point of assuring that it meets the requirement, but we do not have a choice to raise our hand and say that, or why are we talking about the quality parameters or giving importance to it. So that's not a concern at all here. The next category, the fourth category here, is testing is done by test specialists from the business organizations, user community, or other non-development technical organization. Now, this is where we are talking about today. If you are falling under an integration test team, you're falling under system test team, performance test team, and so on. You are actually falling here that you are completely independent from the development team, and you talk about your quality business goals. So the test result information is reported objectively to the stakeholders. Quality is the primary focus of this team. That means we do not have any kind of dominations or any driven approaches. Rather, we are just concentrating on the level which we are conducting, and the team is completely responsible for that. So they will be answerable for certain quality parameters which they have to fulfill at the end of the day. Skills development and training are focused on the testing. Of course, we need to enhance our skills for specialized testing work, and we try to make sure that we are as good as possible in order to perform them. Testing is seen as a career path as well. That means we just don't try to merge with our own portfolio or try to think about doing something different than what we are doing. So we are not diverted. We are more of a concentrated people. We know our asset, we know our qualification skill set, and we try to improvise that from time to time. And there is specific management devoted to the testing group that is quality focused. That means you will have a test analyst, you will have a technical test analyst, you will have a test manager, test director, and a lot many other people to dedicate or take care of this particular team and manage all the activities performed by them compared to the previous layer of the independence. Now, this gives you a quick idea that how exactly the independence is growing between the organization. But at any organization level, you may practice all of them or maybe just a few of them. That's up to you. Again, that's what the test manager needs to take care about. The next important thing here is external test specialist performing the test on the specific test types. Now, this is where we go to the fifth layer of independence. That means not within the organization. Earlier, we saw that the fourth layer was that development team is separate, testing team is separate, but you are within one particular shed. That means within the organization. But right now, we are talking about specialists, and they can be inside the organization, they can be outside the organization. For example, your organization takes care of all the functional levels of testing. But when it comes to security testing, you ask a third-party organization to do it. Or probably within your team, the one who has done functional testing will not be responsible for conducting performance testing, security testing, usability testing. So all these specialist teams are further independent from the functional testing team. So that's where the fifth level of independence happens, that the testing team within is also further independent. So expertise is applied to specific areas where generalized testing is likely to be insufficient. That means the functional testing may not be capable enough to target all these quality characteristics of the product. And that's where we need a specialized team to measure the non-functionality of it. The test types could be usability, security, performance, or any other areas where specialization is necessary. Quality should be the focus of these individuals, but their view is limited to their areas of specialty. The product that performs well may not meet its functional requirement, but that may go undetected by the performance specialist. So, quality should be the focus of these individuals. As we are talking about non functional testing, we are indirectly mentioning it as quality characteristics of the product, and that can be done by these specialist people who are responsible for measuring that. Last but not the least, of course, we are talking about the complete independent testing or highest independence degree, which is testing is done by an organization external to your organization. That means you are only responsible for developing the product, but you are completely outsourcing your testing activity, be it even unit testing. Now, here the model achieves the maximum independence between the tester and the developer. Knowledge transfer may not be sufficient for the tester to test competently. That means you may not provide all the necessary information. They have communication gap, they have understanding issues, and a lot many other factors. Clear requirements and well-defined communication structures will be needed. That's another constraint which we need to deliver to the third-party software, a third-party organization. And quality of the external organization must be audited regularly, because they may skip certain things, and you need to have you have a high reliability on them. So you need to make sure that how far they are meeting your expectation in terms of the contracts and service level agreements, a lot many other things to deliver what you actually want. So what we basically wanted to understand here is that how independent testing can be performed in any organization. Now, being a test manager, you need to take care of this, that if you are looking forward to any type of testing and what kind of organization you're working with, you can establish that, okay, if I'm working with a low independent testing, that what could be the consequences? If I'm completely working with an independent team, then what would be the consequences? And overcoming that is what the test manager has to do in order to form a best way of creating that communication channel between them, coordination channel between them, and the best collaboration ever in order to meet the expectation. This is the list based on the typical focus of the individuals, but that may not be true in particular organization as well. A position and a title do not necessarily determine a person's focus. Okay, so it is completely different, that you may have a different skill set, and what kind of objective you have towards the application is completely different from the role and the designation provided to you. There are various degrees of independence between the development and the testing organization. It is important to understand that there may be a trade-off where more independence results in more isolation and less knowledge transfer. So we just try to thrive to have a moderate degree of independence where we are keeping them biased but collaborative, or making sure that they communicate well, and they probably try to have face-to-face communication most of the time, not completely away from each other, and treating like vendor and client's relationship within the process. So a lot of such things has to be eliminated and overcome. Now, a lower level of independence may increase the knowledge, but can also introduce conflicting goals. The level of independence will also be determined by the software development, which is the software development model, because sometimes you work with Agile, you know how exactly the team is. When you work with traditional, the teams are different. So within Agile development, the testers are most often the part of the development team itself, which you can call it as your initial low degree of independence, which you apply. Well, that was a quick thing to talk and explore right from the foundation level in a much more elaborated way for the test manager point of view. And test manager has to consider all the factors which we have discussed right now in this session in order to have the best practices applied and deployed within the organization. So that's all from this particular tutorial, team. Should you have anything else, feel free to comment below. I'm always there to address your queries and answer them well. Till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep understanding the context. Thanks for watching the video, team, and happy learning.